Well, meanwhile, there have been a series of new Israeli strikes, including in Rafah, Khan Younis, and on the Al-Falah school in the south of Gaza City. The Strip's largest refugee camp, Jabalia, has also once again been targeted by Israeli airstrikes. Osama bin Javaid has more.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
We're being killed, she says. Those who survive don't even have water. An overwhelming number of wounded at Gaza's now out-of-service Indonesian hospital. Being seriously wounded here is a death sentence. Even the vinegar they use to clean wounds has run out. For weeks, they've appealed to the world, but the only thing incoming is more Israeli bombardment.
She's 15 and has a severe head injury. We were hit by a missile. Some of my children were killed. The survivors are critical.
Communication and details are scant at Gaza's largest Al-Shifa hospital after Israeli forces raid on Wednesday. In their last appeal, medics said the wounds are getting infected. There's little food and water, and the Israeli military siege means no one can go in or out. No word on how many babies are still alive, since oxygen and electricity are fast running out. Across Gaza, entire neighborhoods are being wiped out. More strikes overnight on the densely packed Jabalia camp flattened yet another block.
The rocket hit this building and killed the people in their sleep. This is what Netanyahu does. But I'd like to say this to Netanyahu. We will not surrender.
There's no more fuel for rescue teams. The roads are destroyed, and many rescuers have also been killed.
The whole civil defense operations will cease. We cannot carry out search and rescue without fuel. It will be nothing but a horrifying catastrophe. I appeal to the whole world, international organizations, to put pressure for the delivery of fuel and basic resources.
Those who are lucky enough to reach the southern border with Egypt are stranded as well. Suffering from severe injuries and burns, this child is among thousands who need urgent medical help.
Our home was shelled by Israeli warplanes. My father, mother, and all my brothers and sisters were killed. Even my uncles and cousins were killed in the airstrike. I am the only one who survived. I have been waiting in the ambulance for hours. We do not know when the Rafah gate will open.
Nowhere is safe in Gaza, and there is no place to go.
Where on earth are the Arab leaders? Where are the Muslims? Do any of you accept this to happen to your own child? Where is the humanity? Israeli snipers are targeting young children. Is this child a militant? Our blood is not only on the hands of the Israelis, but also on those Arab leaders standing and watching in silence.
A few pieces of stale leftover bread is all that's available at the Indonesian hospital. It's already being called one of the world's worst man-made humanitarian disasters. But the sounds coming out of Gaza are very different, depending on which side of the bombing posts it on social media. As Israel's war on Gaza remains relentless. Osama bin Javaid, Al Jazeera.
Well, we have correspondents across the region. Mohammed Jamjoom is in occupied East Jerusalem for us. But first, let's speak to Yumna Al-Sayed. Yumna, you're in Khan Younis, in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. We know that those bombardments haven't stopped. Talk us through what's been targeted most recently.
Well, yes, Nastasia, as you just mentioned, these bombardments haven't stopped from last night, all through the night hours and all through this day. The bombardments have been taking place in different areas across the Gaza Strip. Let's start with the northern parts where homes have been shelled by tanks in the northern parts of the Strip, and also the bombardments of the Jabalia refugee camp, one of the most densely populated areas. This camp that has been targeted multiple times before. About 8 homes were completely destroyed in the targeting of the Jabalia refugee. Dozens of people were killed and dozens others were injured, while dozens have remained under the rubble, where civilians have suffered to bring them out, along with the defense teams that were available Other targetings also was a targeting in a Sabra neighborhood in Gaza City, and the other targeting another targeting in Gaza also was for Al-Falah public school. Now, going to the south, there was a targeting in Rafah where 7 people were killed, another targeting in Al-Qarara for a residential home where 9 people were killed, another one, a home in a local market in the center of Khan Younis. Also, a number of citizens and dozens others were injured in that targeting, and the targetings continue in or across the strip.
Yumna, you're in Khan Younis at the moment, and we know over the last couple of days lots of leaflets have been dropped in the east asking people to leave and try to seek known shelters. Where are people supposed to go, and are people actually moving?
Well, yes, these leaflets have been dropped in the southern part, on the eastern parts in the southern part. They have been dropped on 4 towns here. So we're talking about 4 major towns in Khan Younis itself. And people are expected, according to the Israeli army's orders in these leaflets, to move to the western and central parts of Khan Younis itself, which is the southern part. Now, already the entire southern part, I'm talking about Khan Younis and Rafah, are completely overpacked. Over 1,700,000 people are in the southern parts now, Nastasia, without being able to find enough space for the amount of population and the amount of people who have been displaced, the people who are still being displaced because of the ongoing bombardments in the south, and all these people, where are they supposed to go while they're still asked to evacuate from their homes?
Yumna Al-Sayed there with the latest for us from the ground in Khan Younis and the Gaza Strip. Thank you, Yumna. Well, let's now get the view from occupied East Jerusalem and speak to Mohammed Jamjoom. Mohammed, we know that supplies have been running low. We've just been hearing there from Yumna about people being asked to move when there's actually no food, no water, no fuel. But we are now hearing that Israel is, I believe, allowing more fuel trucks into Gaza. What details do we have at this stage?
That's right, Nastasia. The details that have emerged over the course of the past hour is that Israel will start allowing 2 fuel trucks per day into the Gaza Strip from the Rafah border crossing. This was a decision that was made by the War Cabinet in Israel. This is supposed to be for use by the United Nations and to help maintain and keep the sewage system and the water system working in Gaza. Now, we're told there are a lot of reports in the media here that this decision was the result of recommendations by the Israeli army, the Shin Bet, which is the internal security and intelligence services, and also that the U.S. played a key role. That it's been reported here that the U.S. was growing increasingly frustrated with Israel about this issue of allowing fuel trucks into the Gaza Strip, that apparently the U.S. had made this request several weeks ago and were not understanding why it hadn't been implemented until now. This is supposed to be around 60,000 liters of fuel per day that will be allowed entry into Gaza. You compare that to about 7 million liters per week that had been allowed entry before October 7th. So the current amount that we're told will start entering into Gaza will be about 6% of that previous amount that was allowed in before October 7th. Now, this, not surprisingly, has not gone down well with members of the far-right government team here in Israel. We're already hearing a lot of criticism from certain far right-wing cabinet members, including National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, but also Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. He released a statement just a short while ago in which he said, allowing fuel into Gaza is a grave mistake and against the cabinet's decision. It reflects weakness. It's giving oxygen to the enemy, and it allows Sinwar to sit in an air-conditioned bunker comfortably, watch the news, and continue to manipulate Israeli society and the families of the hostages. And this, instead of hitting him and his men and his partners, Hamas heads abroad mercilessly until the last survivors there beg us to accept back our abductees unconditionally. It's the only way to destroy Hamas, return the abductees, and restore security to the citizens of Israel. Now, despite the fact that when this announcement was made, there were assurances that none of this fuel would reach Hamas, you're starting to see what could constitute a rebellion by members of the far right-wing government. And it's going to be interesting to see if more ministers and if more members of the cabinet and members of the Knesset come out and start criticizing it. We know now that there was supposed to be a security cabinet meeting that was going to be happening on Monday evening. Now that's been moved to tomorrow evening, and we believe that is a result of the internal dispute. This is something that could politically be a problem for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We'll get you more details as we have them in the hours to come. Nastasia?
We will indeed. Very interesting dynamics. Mohammed Jamjoom there with the latest for us from occupied East Jerusalem. Thank you, Mohammed.